Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm DJ Drakto over at Misfit Gaming, and we've got a armor tutorial today for tanks. Okay, so armor, pretty self-explanatory, but what most people don't know is how to angle their armor effectively against incoming fire. Angling your tank armor will help your tank survive far more than facing your opponent's head on. I will demonstrate later at the test range how to angle your armor. There won't be any gameplay in this video. I'll try to get some gameplay footage up at a later date, but for right now I'm just going to try to break down the armor as effectively as I can. So this is a T-34 tier 3 medium tank, and the T-34 doesn't have the best armor in the world. It's got 45 millimeters of armor all around, 40 at the sides, 40 at the rear, and his turret is 45 all around, I believe. Yes, it is 45 all around. Most thick part of the tank is where the transmission is housed. Transmission is right behind that bar, that red bar, and that's the thickest piece of armor on the tank. But this tank is able to survive hits. Why? Why is it able to survive hits? 45 millimeters of armor. This thing is competing with KV2s, KV85s, is competing with Panzer 4Hs. It's got so much to deal with, yet it's able to take hits. Why? Because of the sloping on the armor. There's two different types of armor, rounding and sloped. Okay, each have their own benefits. I don't have any tanks with rounded armor yet. Oh, yes, I do. I have Shermans. Shermans have rounded armor. They're able to deflect or bounce rounds off of their turret because it's rounded. The only part of the slope is the front. Okay, so back to the Russians. But the T-34 is a tank that is essentially all sloped. Okay, so when we put our mouse cursor over this, we'll do at the very bottom of the slope. All right. As you can see, it has a thickness of 45 millimeters. Okay, the angle is 60 degrees, and the effective thickness is 55.1 millimeters of armor. So essentially, the sloping is giving you more armor effectiveness due to the sloping. We'll go to the middle, and as you can see, we're at 57 millimeters. We'll get to the height of the slope, and we'll be at 59 millimeters of effective thickness. Now, granted, this isn't life-saving or anything of that nature, but still, the sloping is to take into consideration. I mean, even on the rear, it has an effective thickness of 61.7 millimeters of armor. So what does this mean for you? Well, it means that you're going to have an increased chances of ricochets and bounces off of your tank. Say if you're attacking someone at this front, they fire here, it has a chance to bounce off or ricochet. If they fire here at your side, they have a chance to bounce and ricochet off of your side because of the sloping of the armor. Essentially, what the sloping is doing is it is defeating armor-piercing shells because it has that slope. Armor-piercing shells, they love flat surfaces. For instance, the flat surface, a good thing about flat surfaces, boom, the side of a Sherman. Side of a Sherman is flat like pancake ass, I tell you. You could pierce the side of a Sherman with any tank in the game. That's how horrible this flat armor is. And that's on pretty much all of the Shermans, except for this Sherman. This Sherman has a little bit of rounding on its armor, but it's not enough. It's not enough to defeat shells. So, for my heavy tank, I have 75 millimeters of armor, and at the top of the slope, 79 millimeters of armor. Sloping is good. This is actually a little bit of rounded armor, okay, and it is 100 millimeters thick. So at the top of the rounding, I have 108 millimeters of armor. That's at the very top of my turret. So what this does, it has a chance to bounce shots, not ricochet, but bounce them because it's rounded. I don't really know what the difference between a ricochet and a bounce is, but bouncing and ricochet, that's something that, you know, hey. The turret is rounded, so it'll probably bounce more. Also, something to note with armor, the turret mantle is the most thickest armor on a tank. Okay. Case in point, the KV-2, 90 millimeters of armor on its gun mantlet. Now let's look everywhere else. 75, 75, 75, 70, 60. Yeah, 100 and almost 100 millimeters of armor. The KV-85, it's 100, 100, but it has two pieces of armor for its gun mantlet. So essentially, you have to break through 200 millimeters of armor on the gun mantlet. 200 millimeters of armor. The T-54 apparently 45 millimeters of armor, not the thickest part of the tank, but your gun mantlet is always going to be the thickest part of your tank, excluding the T-34. Kind of weird, but yeah, excluding. And your commander's hatch. Your commander's hatch is also going to be the thickest, one of the thickest armored things on your tank. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it. Let's go ahead and go to the battlefield. We'll go and we'll test drive, and I'll show you the ideal angling that you want to have when engaging tanks. Now, keep in mind these are tanks that ricochets and bouncing is kind of like with luck. It's kind of a luck thing, you know. But with tanks like Tiger 2s and well, at that level you'll have a lot of armor, but at the lower levels you'd have to worry about Panzer F2s. They have, or Panzer IV F2s, they have amazing guns on them. So yeah, something to think about. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go down here to the Panzer. I should go to the Panther. Those are tanks that probably be engaging. Yeah, okay, I'll go down to the Panther. Or that shrapnel ammo. T-34s, man, they were workhorses, weren't they? Alright, so here we go. There's a Panther. I'll go ahead and slide on in. Alright, so when you were engaging a Panther, at this range it's suicidal, obviously. Because the gun that the Panther has an immense amount of penetration. So at this range, you're likely not to ricochet. Okay, because this is within 10 meters. It's got to be. Yeah, it's within 10 meters. So this tank right here is going to over-penetrate my angling, regardless. If I bounce anything, it's going to be luck. Now, if we back up... Actually, let's... Oh, another thing to never do, never give your the side of your tank to anybody. Or the rear of your tank. Always give them the front and angle it a little bit. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Well, I'm not going to be able to show you what I'm talking about with penetration on the side, but a lot of your vital components are going to be on the side of your tank and the rear of your tank. Your engine, for one, and your fuel tanks are going to be next to your engine, which can cause you to, well, it can cause explosions, and that's not good. All right, so if I'm engaging this Panzer right here, Panzer is over there, as you can see, facing me direct on. Now, I can't penetrate his armor, but he can sure as hell penetrate mine. But I am at a slight angle, as you can see. Okay. The Panzer is facing me head on. I am engaging at an angle. What this does is it gives me an increased chance of bouncing or ricocheting shots. Shot can hit me from, can hit me on the side and bounce off the side. It can hit me in the front and bounce off the front. You know, this is the ideal positioning you want to be in right here. Okay. I wish I can zoom out, but unfortunately I cannot. But this is the ideal angle. I'll zoom in on the Panzer again, as you can see, facing me direct on. Now let me go ahead and try to get a bounce off of this guy. Let me try to get a bounce. No, they're all just firing. Alright, so there you go. This is the firing position for your tank. Certain tanks you want to face direct on, but you have to keep in mind every tank has this weakness on the front. Let's see, let's find the Panthers weakness. Let's find it. Well, the lower armor plate for one. Not the viewports. Turret ring, side of the turret there. That's this weakness from the front. And of course it's tracks, but the tracks don't do any actual damage. I can attempt to try to shoot right through the viewports on the Panzer. Yep, see, went right through. I shot at that viewport right there. You can see the little hole. Yeah. So this is a good time to talk about the crosshairs of your tank, of when you're aiming in arcade mode. When you're in arcade mode, you get these aim assisters, okay? And this is going to tell green means you'll penetrate. Okay, green means you'll penetrate. Red means you won't penetrate. Yellow means there's a possibility of penetration. Okay. As you can see, a possibility, and I didn't penetrate. Yellow doesn't always mean you're going to penetrate, but the sloping on that armor, there sometimes, yeah, see. Sloping on the armor has bounced 2 of my shots, 3 of my shots, and you see it just ricocheted off of the tank. And that one penetrated. And kaboom, it blew up. I blew it up. I blues it up. So, effective, let's recap. Let's recap, okay? That's the Panzer. This is within 10 meters. This is suicide range, alright? Engaging a tank at 10 meters is suicide for any tank because at that point in time, the tank's gun will be hitting for its maximum amount of penetration, alright? That's something to keep in mind. So, how can you survive an encounter at 10 meters? Well, one, getting some cover between you and your target. That's one way to do it. Blindly fire at your target and panic. That's another way to do it. Or you could angle your tank and take the chances and let your armor do the job. But again, that's a risk in itself. Once you're at 10 meters, it's kind of all up in the air because at that point in time, it's suicide range. I mean, who really wants to engage your tank at 10 meters? That's suicidal. But besides suicidal range, you definitely want to angle your armor, alright? My tank is angled. As you can see, if I wasn't angled, you'd be seeing this. Alright, a head-on picture. But, see, I angle my armor just enough, just like this, and that's all that I need. Because at that point in time, my side has been exposed a little bit. They'll try to shoot at my side because it's my weakest armor. If they are not smart and they don't know what they're doing, they'll try to shoot from my side and it'll bounce off my side, giving me a increased survival chance. But just keep in mind that, again, at 10 meters, your guns are going to be hitting for the maximum amount of penetration because it's within suicide range. So, something to keep in mind, yes? But anyways, that is tank angling, armor thickness, and armor effectiveness. Let's recap what we found out. So, what we found out is that sloping and rounded armor has an increased chance of bouncing and ricocheting shots. We also found out that the gun mantlet is usually the thickest part of the tank. We also found out that at the height of a T-34 slope, it has 59 millimeters of effective thickness. And we also learned that sloping and angling sloped armor and angling your armor with the combination of the sloped has a higher chance of ricocheting shots. Right? Okay. We also learned never to expose your side to your enemy, and I'm going to show you why. So this is an X-ray view of a T-34. Right? Now at the back we have the transmission, the engine, And then on the side, we have fuel tank, fuel tank, fuel tank, fuel tank, radiator, engine, radiator, fuel tank, fuel tank, fuel tank, fuel tank, fuel tank, fuel tank. Okay, so yeah. Also behind this fuel tank, we have ammunition. Now, if they hit ammunition, that's it. Game over, man. Game over. Well, not all the time, but most of the time with me, if my ammunition gets hit, that's ammo wreck. All right. So, yeah, never expose your side or your rear, because if you expose your rear, they'll shoot you right through the engine block. They'll probably kill a few of your crew, and they'll disable your tank. They hit you from the side, you'll probably blow up because of your fuel. Okay, never expose the side of your tank. It's bad. It's bad mojo. Don't do it, guys. So this is DJ Drakto over at Misfit Gaming, and this has been an armor tutorial. Let me know if this was effective or not down in the comments below. If you learned anything or anything like that, just let me know down in the comments below so I know you got to the end of this video. And other than that, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.